Hello, this is Pat Lynch, and you are watching and listening to the Career Pathways podcast, brought to you by the KILT studio, deep in the basement of Mabee Simpson Library. With me, as always, behind the board, making the magic happen, is
producer Jason.
I whispered it. Don't worry. It happened. It happened.
But people know who he is.
Yeah.
He's the most famous man in podcast production right now, so we all know that. And
0 awards, though.
What?
Zero
We're working on that.
We'll get one this year. Cheyenne, I hope Cheyenne wins.
Oh, yeah.
That voting ended, right?
I believe so.
When are the awards, in October?
Yeah. We're not playing too much inside baseball. RCAST, which is the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative, every year they do a vote on what's the best podcast, like best male hosted, best education, best political podcast. Fortunately, they don't have one for the most handsome podcast host.
That would have been 3-time winner right there.
You know, what can I say? But yeah, I thought we were going to win last year. And well, first I'm going to introduce Brown James, our assistant professor of communication studies.
Good to be here.
Yes. But getting back, sorry, Brown, we want to learn about you, but back to us.
Carry on, please.
But yeah, I swore we were going to win. Mm-hmm. And then Kent Nadler, who does our Celtic Crossroads podcast, he was at the award ceremony. And so he thought we were going to win. Well, we lost. Mm-hmm. Who'd we lose to? It was a podcast called Tiger Paws. What was Tiger Paws? It was 2 adorable 12-year-old girls, out of Bentonville. Yeah, and they had these little cute sayings like, what was it, like pause you later? And oh man, we didn't stand a chance. Oh, it was yeah. So
we did get best podcast production company.
Yes, we did get that.
And I think we're going to win that again because to be honest, there's not a lot that are on that list anyway. And
right.
We did a lot last year and we got a lot of votes.
Yeah, and we kept building. So we had to run up the votes because sorry, young ladies, Tiger Paws is adorable, but your turn was last year. It's our turn to shine.
It's the turn of the Career Pathways.
All right. Well, hello, Brown. It's like, why'd I come here? Let these guys.
Hey, I'm learning. That's what it's for.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is kind of in the adjacent career studies or communication studies adjacent.
Certainly.
And that. So I always start, just to ask you to tell us a little about yourself. We could learn more about you, like where you came from, kind of your education that led you to arrive here at Lyon College.
Yeah. So, what's funny is I'm the communications professor, and I'm probably the worst you'll ever meet at elevator pitches.
All right.
So I'm going to try my best, though. Yeah, it's a lot tougher than people make it seem.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right.
Hop, skip, and a jump from here. From there, I went to the Citadel Military College, South Carolina, down in Charleston, South Carolina. Studied political science, American government mostly. From there, I knew that, you could use a political science degree for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I had worked on political campaigns and the stereotypical political science kid stuff. But I didn't really want to go in that field.
Right.
I had my fun,
Yeah. What campaigns did you work on?
Oh, let's see. My first one ever was for Senator Lindsey Graham.
Okay.
He had at the time, this was 2014.
Okay.
And he was in a hotly contested primary with a Tea Party member.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was actually...
He didn't have to worry about beating a Democrat in South Carolina.
No. We didn't have to worry about that. It was more internal.
Yeah.
And at the time, I can't remember the particulars of the politics at the moment, but I do remember that he wasn't terribly worried, but he also wasn't comfortable either. Like, he actually had to campaign. And so that was my first dip in those waters.
Yeah.
And then the next most significant one was actually the President Trump's 2016 primary campaign.
Right.
And a little context here, in the summer of 2015, which is when the primary was getting going hot and steady, nobody thought that he was a legitimate contender.
Right.
And that was actually the year I went to boot camp, which I'm sure we'll talk about the military later.
Right.
He had just come down the escalator and announced that he was running.
Right.
And that's when I went to boot camp. And on Sundays, the chaplain would come in and he would give us all the news, sports, government, weather, up to all that, because we had no contact with the outside world. And he would give us an update on the primary. And slowly but surely, then candidate Trump kept going up and up and up in the polls. And by the time I left there, I said, you know what? I got to go work on another campaign. I think the guy might have what it takes.
Yeah. Well, and I remember being in Spartanburg when he won the South Carolina primary. Yeah. He gave a speech at the Marriott down there, and it was and even there he still wasn't taken seriously. I mean, he hadn't really kind of, he had some formidable competition.
Oh yeah. And another thing people forget too, going into the general election on election day, people thought, I remember, I'll never forget, I was in one of my political science classes the day of the election.
Right.
And the professor, Dr. Buchanan was his name. He said, show of hands, who thinks that Hillary is going to win tonight?
Yeah.
And mind you, very red-leaning school, the Citadel.
Oh, yeah.
More than 2/3 of the class raised their hand. Nobody thought that it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Even I had my doubts, and I worked for it. And then lo and behold. But anyway, so that was my biggest political experience.
Right.
Was that I was the assistant to the South Carolina field director, and so I got to go all across the state
and canvass for votes. Is that
really just helping out with the events themselves? I would do some of the canvassing if she needed me to, but she had other people, other freshmen.
Like he rolled through
volunteers.
Spartanburg, and I forget the name of the diner. There's like a diner everybody eats at.
Beacon.
The Beacon, yes. And so you go, so get a photo op at the Beacon, and then you know that. And I'm sure that when he's in Charleston, there's place
somewhere on King Street and all that. The Citadel.
Yeah,
he went there a couple times. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I helped her out with the events. Anything from coordinating services to being the errand boy. Like, in fact, one of the coolest errands I ever did. We're getting way off topic now, but
this is great.
It's a fun story. I actually drove in the motorcade for him. When he was primary candidate.
Yeah.
So basically, what would happen is, he would have a security detail, and they still needed his staff to be transported. Only the candidate got Secret Service. The staff still needed to be, but they all traveled as one. So basically, it would just be a big sandwich: Secret Service in the front and back, and then wherever the candidate Trump at the time was. And so I'm this junior in college.
Yeah.
I don't know anything,
Yeah.
And I'm driving this rented Suburban full of these high-level policymakers that we don't know each other from, Adam and Steve and Paul.
Yeah.
And it was just a strange experience. And one night, I'll never forget, a very mundane story, but interesting. It was about 2 a.m. We had just finished one of the primary debates, and candidate Trump had phoned in to one of the people in the car and said, "Hey, stop and get McDonald's for the whole plane."
I love it.
Yeah. And so we stopped in this McDonald's in North Charleston. If you know North Charleston, you don't really want to be there at 2 a.m. in the morning. And these poor McDonald's workers, they thought we were just going to roll up and get like a burger or something. No, we ordered like over $100 worth of McDonald's, which at that time is a lot of food.
Yeah.
And I can still remember their orders. The now President Trump, candidate Trump, got 2 large Big Mac combos to himself. And then Ivanka got a fish fillet combo. I can't remember if there was cheese on it or not. But I do remember that stuck in my mind, that I know the president's McDonald's order.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's too good.
A great story, actually.
Oh, man.
So that was where the majority of my political experience come from. And I had fun with it, but I knew that when you start out, you don't get paid very much.
Yeah.
You're going to be traveling constantly. And there might be a chance that you get a bigger role somewhere else along the way.
Yeah,
probably
you kind
not.
of, it's like the coaching carousel. You just
Yes.
work your way up through the campaigns.
And you're hoping the whole time.
Yeah, wow. And so then, okay, you're a junior, being in professional politics, and I imagine as a poli-sci major at Citadel, law school must have.
It occurred to me.
Yeah. But it passed.
I passed, and to be quite honest with you, I can't remember at the time why. What I do recall is that I knew I didn't want to go in that field, but I did know that I loved what I studied, and I'd started to get into the news aspect of politics,
right?
And hence how I got into journalism and communications and all that. And so I said, well, I'm going to need some more studying here because I've only had like one class on news media and politics.
Right.
Why there's not more classes like that, I couldn't tell you, but I only had the one, and it thoroughly interested me. So I said, well, I'll go get a master's degree, and I'll focus on news media and politics, which inherently meant cable news at the time. It still is a big part of it.
Sure.
So anyways, I started looking for graduate programs, and I'm from North Carolina. All my friends who were way more studious than me in high school went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And so I said, well, that's still a long shot for me because I wasn't so studious at the Citadel either.
Yeah.
And for various reasons, but I said, well, I'll go ahead and apply. Why not?
Yeah.
And so among the other schools I applied to, lo and behold, UNC accepted me, which was shocking. I remember telling my advisor, I can say this now as I'm a doctor, but my advisor at the time, when I told him, hey, UNC accepted me, he was looking at his computer. He was taken aback. He kicked back his chair, stood up and said, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
Because he didn't believe it. He knew my GPA. He knew my scholarship or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And to this day, divine providence is the only answer I have. I think that
meaningful work, like outside experience too.
Yes. I think my advisor, Dr. Kaboski at UNC, saw that, hey, if you can make it through the Citadel, you're in the military, you can do what you're told.
Right.
And as long as you have that mentality in graduate school, that's over half the battle. It's just
discipline.
Read this, understand this, discuss this, show up on time.
Right.
Boom. And he knew I could do that.
So at UNC, you got a master's in communication
Mass
studies?
communications.
Mass communications,
Yes.
okay.
The emphasis, if you want to call it that, was strategic communication. What is that? Well, it's basically a mix between public relations.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Generally speaking, public relations, but I tended to straddle that line between public relations and news media.
Okay.
Right. Particularly where you're looking at how to shape news narratives from a PR standpoint and all that. So I was a little bit of both, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. While I was there, I met my wife, Sydney. I was a first year master's student and she was a junior in psychology. So we were graduating at the same time.
Right.
One thing led to another. Blissfully married for 6 years now.
Right.
Yeah. While I was there, we got my dog Blue. He was a puppy, a little golden retriever.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend it for everybody, but he was excellent for writing a thesis.
There you go.
I was stuck in my apartment for a whole semester.
Yeah.
And I would have just sat there and kept writing aimlessly and probably horrible quality.
Yeah, to go take him for walks.
Every 45 minutes, I'd get up, go take him outside at a minimum just to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
He was good for that. And then he helped me out in my dissertation in that regard too.
Well, like the old great quote from the movie Old School, "You're my boy, Blue."
Yeah, that is one of the perks of naming him Blue. And then the fact that when I finally convince somebody that my name is Brown, and then they ask me what the dog's name is, and I tell them Blue, so it's usually a good icebreaker. Yeah.
So then, Then you went directly into getting a PhD.
No, so I decided that the stereotype of professors is that you're just a professional student.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to be that.
Okay.
Right or wrong, that stereotype being, but I didn't want to be it. I didn't want to prove it. And so I went out from there. Well, let's see, what was my first job? My first job was being the court coordinator for a specialty for the Piedmont Judicial Circuit of Georgia. It was a veterans treatment court. And basically what it is if, let's say, veteran Joe over here When he was in the service, he got chronic pain issues as a
Right.
result. He gets out, hasn't served a full 20 years, so he doesn't have the health coverage.
Right.
And now he has to treat his pain
Right.
either over the counter or illicitly.
Mm-hmm.
So he picks up some charges for drugs and whatnot, and he's going to prison for a
Right.
lengthy period of time. We step in and say, hey, due to his service and everything, how
Yeah.
about we do this? How about he comes into our program, into our court. He's going to be under court supervision, meaning a probation officer
Right.
checks in with him multiple times a week. He's going to go to court-ordered treatment for drug use, mental health, whatever the
Right.
case may be in the given situation. And then he's also going to come check in with me, the court coordinator, and update me on everything every single week.
Right.
He can tell me how his appointments went, tell me if everything's good to go with his parole or probation officer.
Right.
And then, of course, I'll relay things between the participants and the judge and all that. And then on top of that, you're coordinating
Mm-hmm.
with the district attorney, the public defender, the judge, of course,
Right.
the police officers. You're running the whole court. Most people don't realize that judges of whatever capacity, they have enough on their plate just doing their actual job of deciding cases, looking over the relevant case law, the facts of the specific case at hand,
Right.
all that. They don't have time to actually, coordinate the going ons of the court. And so everything outside of actually analyzing the law and the
Yeah.
facts and all that, everything outside of that was my job.
Your job. And I imagine you think about intervention and treatment for veterans. You had people that were homeless.
Yeah.
Just you mentioned as far as drug addictions and all that, because being homeless, yeah, you'll get arrested. You're breaking vagrancy laws and all this other things. They might be shoplifting. I mean, the list goes on. So So how was the program successful in your mind?
It was to an extent.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to judge it off metrics because I was over Banks, Jackson, and Bear counties in Georgia, and these are not the most populated of counties. So it's already a rural population, small. The number of veterans is, of course, exponentially smaller. And then of those, how many are criminals? And then on top of that, the charges they picked up had to be of a certain variety. They couldn't be violent.
Yeah.
They couldn't be sexual in nature.
Right.
There were a lot of parameters. So this was a very small pool of
major
people.
felonies that rule them out.
When I left, we had about 10 or 12 participants.
Yeah.
And this process took, once you entered to where you were out of the court, like you graduated, if you will.
Yeah.
Was anywhere between, I can't remember the specifics now, but it was plus or minus 2 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see all of those people go through or drop out. But I would say even if two of those guys, I know that two made it through, so that's 20%. And
that's two lives that you kind of impacted.
You save from going through that cyclical process of, because once they were already down on their luck. Once you go to prison, it's a hard hole to climb out of.
Yeah. And then you didn't stay at that job. You moved on to another, or did you go back to school?
So about a year into it, I got deployed for the first time. I was in the Coast Guard Reserves this whole time. So my sophomore year at the Citadel, an undergraduate, I joined the Coast Guard Reserves. So I'd been in throughout that period. Well, I got to the unit that I'm at now, which is a expeditionary unit in nature. We deploy overseas with the Navy Marine Corps, and do whatever they need us to do. So I got deployed to Guantanamo Bay, and I was there for about a year. Then when I got back, I had gotten a better paying job, and it was remote work, so that was even better. So I had to tell the court, as much as I would love, I love the work, it's rewarding, but the county salary is not, So
yeah. I know that people who've gone into social work have the same problem. It's just it's barely like enough to live on, and they're doing God's work in a lot of ways, but you can't survive on it.
I don't know how they had to make. This was back in 2020.
Yeah.
Or 2019 to 2021 is the time frame I'm talking about. And I mean, the salary was like 43 grand.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that today. There's
even
no way.
Even in Northeast Georgia, you can't. It doesn't go that far.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah.
The minimum rent
Yeah.
was $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're deployed, and so you're in the Coast Guard. So you're out at sea somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm at the time I was just a crewman, but now I'm the captain of a 32-foot gunboat.
Yeah.
And basically, what we do is shoreside, waterside security for any kind of naval assets.
Yeah.
For the Marine Corps, we'll work with them and the Army. Any kind of transportation they need in and out of areas. So insertion, extraction.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as a side note, like search and rescue in those types of environments. We're still Coast Guard, so we're all trained to do search and rescue. So this is just a little more aggressive search and rescue.
Yeah,
you could call it. So that's the gist of what I do. And we were in Cuba, and we secured the waters off the prison camp there for the terrorists from the War on Terror.
Yeah, because there's always, I guess, a worry that somebody's going to come and try to break them out.
It was a bigger worry back when they first established the camps.
Yeah.
So the naval base, Guantanamo, that's been there for decades.
Yeah.
Very long time. But the camps were only after 9/11.
Right.
It's just a section of the base. And in the beginning of the camp's existence, there were a lot of people. First off, just didn't know that it was a restricted area.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, they would try to poke around and see what they could see. Some nefarious actors.
Yeah.
But by and large, by this time, by 2020.
Yeah.
We didn't have a whole lot of violations. It was mainly migrant issues.
Yeah.
Because they can't control where the waves take them,
Yeah.
So we'd have some
people
like
leaving like Cuba to try to get to
Cuba,
Florida.
Haiti,
Yeah.
A lot of that. You see some interesting stuff floating around in the water down there. It's very.
I bet.
Strangest thing I saw was an entire what looked like an oak tree, like a fully grown oak tree.
Yeah.
Roots up, floating through the water. I have zero idea how that got. Yeah, imagine you're floating in the ocean, nothing around you.
You see a tree.
And then all of a sudden there's a tree floating by you. Yeah, very strange. There's some cool stuff though, lots of whales.
Yeah.
Sea turtles.
Yeah. So you were the captain?
Not at that point. At that point I was
it.
just a crewman and engineer on the boat.
Oh, okay, got it. Now
so I would work a gun, or I would, if something broke on the boat, I'd try to fix it to the best of my ability.
Where'd you get the training to do that? At the Citadel or
no? So when I joined, this is the other thing about the Coast Guard. You're a jack of all trades typically.
Right.
So my advanced training is actually to be a engineer to fix the engines on whatever boats we have. But that's just your specialty training. Your actual job might be something totally different.
Okay.
Like in my case, being a boat captain.
Right.
So I can fix the boat. I can navigate the boat. I can operate whatever needs to be operated, or in this case, command the crew.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. I definitely, it's not talked about enough, but the Coast Guard is, in my opinion, of course, biased, one of the better branches to join for that reason alone. You're going to be self-sufficient and learn a ton of stuff you're not going to learn in other branches.
Now, how's recruitment doing? Because I heard recruitment overall has gone up.
It skyrocketed after November.
Yeah.
We know. So I can tell you some anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Over the past 4 years, recruitment had obviously nosedived, and the Coast Guard had gotten to the point where they were so desperate for people, they were telling current members. They said, "Hey, if you recruit, if you get somebody to come join, we'll give you $1,000."
Right.
And it helped a little bit, but I had one of my shipmates made like $2 or $3 grand.
Yeah.
Just from
referrals.
He was a police officer on the outside, and so he told the newer police officers who needed a little extra cash. He was like, "Hey, come join the reserves," and and so he was making pretty good money.
Yeah, wow. So, being a captain, how many people would be assigned on a ship? I mean, how many would you manage?
So it's a 32-foot boat. The max personnel that can be on it is 12.
Yeah,
but that's packed. That's crowded.
Right.
So the standard operating crew for us is usually anywhere between 4 and 5 people.
Yeah.
You got a 50 cal on the front, and then 2 other machine guns on the side. So that's 3 people right there.
Right.
You have somebody on the radio, and then somebody driving.
Where do you get your leadership experience? Just on the job?
On the job, in my case, I got a lot from the Citadel, so that helped out a good bit.
Okay.
And then definitely staying enlisted for a while.
Right.
You learn from the bottom up.
Yeah.
And it also makes you a lot more humble.
Yeah.
You realize when you give out those commands, when you're telling people what to do, that there's a lot more that goes into it. It's not just you do this, and
right.
it gets done.
Well, and it's like I've heard military experience is really the master class in leadership in terms of how to get, in this case, men, but to kind of want to follow you. You can give them orders. That works for a while, but it's when they really want to follow whatever it is, whatever path you're going, they're going to be right behind you.
Particularly
That's
when it's
leadership.
something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty. So now you Coast Guard, you eventually end up back in school.
Yeah. So I got back from my deployment, and I started working as the Deputy Executive Director was the full title of Media Relations for this educational nonprofit out of New York. Long story short, they don't exist anymore. But long story short, the gist was up there, Italian Americans in New York are actually the largest classified minority. And to Italian Americans, Columbus Day is a huge part of their heritage and all that.
Right.
We tend to think and I even did when I first read the job description, I kind of chuckle when I think of Columbus Day and the controversy. I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Most people don't even remember that Columbus Day exists.
Yeah.
But up there, it's a very,
big
very
parade.
big deal.
And
Yes. Everybody.
It's a great Sopranos episode too.
There is a great Sopranos episode about it.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal to them.
Right.
And so I learned a lot about that. And the biggest crash course you can ever get in public relations is take something that is seemingly not in the majority public opinion, and you have to go and try to spin it or promote it. And you'll cut your teeth pretty good doing that.
Well, what was the situation that you faced where you had to spin this?
It wasn't as terrible as I just made it out to be, really, because the people I'm talking to, I was in Georgia, of course, but I'm reaching out to reporters in New Jersey and New York, Pennsylvania. It's much less, still controversial, but it's not like a forbidden, whereas down here we might tend to think that it's a foregone conclusion. Either you don't care about it or you shouldn't, be for it. Up there, no, they very much took it as this is a two-sided issue.
Right.
So it wasn't as horrible as we might think it would be. But it definitely wasn't exactly easy, let's say. It was still very much contentious.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was a good PR experience.
Right.
Did that for a little while, and then after that is when I went back to school to get my PhD.
Yeah. I
had decided that, I've gotten enough experience and well-rounded for that matter.
Right.
And I was interested. I kind of wanted to join my two experiences with news media or trying to get news media coverage and the courts.
Right.
And at the time, this was when the Dobbs decision had just come down from the court. Everybody remembers the leaked opinion and all that, and Roe being overturned, huge national controversy. And it just kind of made me realize how, out of all the topics that news media covers, that is the court and the judicial system is among the most important.
Right.
And one of the primary reasons being the court only speaks through its official written opinions, which nobody reads.
Right.
The only way you learn of the court is through news media.
Right.
Whereas, you still learn a lot about the executive and the legislature through the news media, but not like you do with the court. So those officers of the legislature and the executive branch, they can go speak to the public themselves.
Right.
They can go speak to the press themselves. They can send text messages like we're all familiar with. They can communicate however they want, as often as they want, as loudly as they want. The court cannot. And so it makes that press coverage all the more influential and impactful.
Oh, yeah. Well, with Dobbs, it broke on CNN, and they always have it in front of the courthouse. And here's somebody, they literally had the paper, and they're kind of reading sections of it in real time. And then they had, aides behind the scenes that, each running through, and then they gather everybody together. And I never thought of that. You're right, though. Yeah,
and even then the coverage is and I say this not,
Yeah.
With any ill intent, the coverage is inadequate. I mean, and practically it has to be. You just gave out an opinion, in this case, a leaked opinion, but normally an opinion that's dozens of pages long, full of legal jargon and these nuanced legal concepts that even trained lawyers struggle to understand, much less a reporter.
Right.
And they're having to parse this together in real time to an audience. You're getting minimal information that's probably inaccurate. And the impact that has on society and their view of that branch that relies on its power comes from its perception of legitimacy amongst the public. And that public's being informed with inaccurate,
Now, am I guessing that this is kind of where you focused your studies while at UGA?
It is. Not entirely on the Supreme Court, but obviously that's the most flashy,
right,
most easily publishable work because everybody, the court's the most famous. But I do everything in legal affairs all the way down to police officers at the local level and news media coverage of them. I did a study. It was the second one I ever did. It was on news media impacts on officer decision making in use of force situations. And it was very interesting. I interviewed, I think it was 15 police officers, and basically trying to ascertain whether or not news media coverage of recent high-profile police shootings, use of force situations, if that impacted how they, how they do their job in general, but B, if that's ever impacted their decision making when they had to determine whether or not they were going to use force. Right. That was pretty interesting. That was pretty cool.
What were the conclusions?
A little mixed. Yeah. Let's put it this way. I would say half, if memory serves me correct, half of them said that yes, it impacted their decision making directly. There were times where they should have used force. It was dangerous that they didn't, and they chose not to because they didn't want to. Hey, what happens if I did the right thing, but it doesn't matter? I'm going to prison. My family. They think about their family members more than themselves. They say, it's one thing for me to suffer, but what about my wife and children? They're going to be without that income, without that father figure, without that husband. And the other half said that no, it doesn't directly impact me, because they know that they're going to do the right thing, and also that it's incredibly dangerous to be thinking that way because you'll get yourself killed. But they said that the newer officers, the rookies, they were saying that they absolutely hesitate because of that.
Well, because I would guess because they grew up in an environment where this is now so much more publicized, and so they
instantly before any investigation or anything. It used to be that you read about it in the newspaper after fact finding had been done.
I mean, police shooting incidents, police brutality is nothing new, but you would have like Rodney King, and then there was like what I can't think of many other really high profile episodes until George Floyd, and then it was just
there's a whole string of them at that point.
And could be, if you fact check me, I'm sure I might have forgotten, but it does seem like that was kind of when everything became it seemed like one after another that occurred.
The thing is that it's not that these things are new, as you said. They happen, right or wrong, whether the decision making was good or bad in the situations. The difference is that we're so hyper connected now, and everything's instantaneous.
Right.
There could have been 5 cases like Rodney King in that year, but you only knew about the one. Whereas now, you can make anything seem like a dramatic big deal when it might not be. You know what I mean?
With everything around just news, and it's kind of like news and strategic communications, and you can just call it just old-fashioned spin. How do people really get, or is it even possible to get an unbiased set of information regarding a Supreme Court decision or, like a police shooting? It's because everybody now, they're tribalized. So, here's how Fox News interprets it. Here's how CNN interprets it, New York Times. And then you got got podcasters. I mean, there's it's so many different interpretations. So is there truth? Is there truth? Is there truth out there?
Well,
like the X-Files,
Of course, there's always there is a truth.
Yeah.
And the question is finding it. And I think that the best way to go about it in today's environment, this is what I advocate people do, is is it unfortunate that most, if not all, of these prominent news outlets have a bias? Yeah, that's unfortunate. However, since you know that, just acknowledge it and then act accordingly, right? If I want to determine the truth of a Supreme Court case without going to read it, which you should probably do, but assuming you don't have the time, okay, go watch the 10 minutes of Fox News, see what they're saying.
Right.
Now go watch the 10 minutes of MSNBC and see what they're saying.
Right.
And lo and behold, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that. So you can parse it out and figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
If you read the New York Times, okay, cool. Go read a story from the Wall Street Journal on the same topic, or the New York Post.
Right.
Just be smart, basically. I think the temptation is to say, all this is bias, so I'm going to give in and just consume the ideology, the outlet with the ideological slant that corresponds with me.
Right.
And it's not good for the body politic.
Yeah.
Whatever. Not to mention personally. Just your concept of reality.
No doubt.
It distorts it.
So you're at UGA, now you're here at Lyon College. What classes are you teaching?
I teach, oral presentation, which for all intents and purposes is public speaking.
Yes.
In various different ways. Then mass media and society, which was an easy transition for me. It was a new class I hadn't taught before, but it's what I research, right?
Right in your wheelhouse, yeah.
Exactly. It wasn't terribly difficult to adapt to. And then news writing, which is essentially what I was teaching already at UGA. They just called it Reporting 1.
Yeah.
But same. So it's been a very nice transition in that regard.
Yeah.
3 classes is obviously a lot more than just one. But it's been a lot easier than it could have been because of the nature of the courses. But public speaking is my favorite one so far. It's just cool to see people grow out of their comfort zones.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of the 3 biggest fears people have, and being able to just get, a lot of it's just confidence. You know that, and the only way you get confidence is to practice. So I'm sure you put them up front many, many times.
One of the first things we did was I said, hey, get up there and each of you are going to just talk for 60 seconds. I don't care about what.
Right.
I don't care how good you speak.
Yeah.
Just get up there and speak.
Yeah.
And
it's hard.
It is. And especially if you don't do it a lot, you know, and a lot of them, I don't know that many freshmen, but definitely have a lot of sophomores.
Right.
A lot of them still at this point haven't had to do that.
Right.
And so it's one of their first times doing it. But yeah, it's been only 3 weeks into the semester?
Yeah.
4?
3.5,
4.
Yeah, 4. Technically, I guess.
And already seeing how much
progress,
how far they came from that 60-second, spiel. It's incredible. So I can't imagine what's gonna be like at the end of the semester.
Yeah, I had a public speaking course in high school. And that was intense because high school's every day.
Oh yeah.
For an hour block.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the most fun classes, and it was actually taught by an English teacher.
Yeah.
So basically all of our public speaking was reading poetry out loud in front of people. I know. So it was actually hard to make it fun because a lot of poetry, I'm an English major, and I'll even say a lot of poetry is very boring.
Yeah.
So you're reading a poem that you didn't choose, and you have to try to be aware of everything that's going on, and but you learn a lot of really good things in public speaking courses, like the eyebrow thing. That was one thing she taught us, and
fidgeting of all sorts that you don't even know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, with the body language that you're showing. I had I was just starting out marketing, and I had a new vice president of marketing I was reporting to, and he brought me in, because I'd been in a different business unit, and so we'd always have these group meetings, annual meetings, and I was always doing like a product presentation or here's our marketing plan. And he just said, Pat, your ideas are really good. Your presentation is about as bad as I've ever seen. It was like, and he was somebody that could read a phone book and be interesting. It was just he said, you are now my project. And so this went on for 6 months. Every time he would call me into his office, I had to stand. And then I had to kind of give, okay, you came in to, what is it that you are here for? So I'd have to, explain it, and then he'd evaluate that I had a good opening, that I make my points clear, that I have a good closing. And it was brutal because we had this we had like an open office, and his office had like glass walls. So all my peers are watching me to have to do this day in, day out. It would almost be like rushing a fraternity. If you saw me in the hall, I had to stop and present, and it went on and on and on. And it finally broke me, of all, kind of all this.
Sure.
I don't know, whatever this stuff. He was some of it was nerves, and you couldn't think straight. Some of it was just not believing that you're a good presenter. I thank him to this day. But but you could imagine, here you are young, and you're in, and oh man, if I went to lunch or beers after work, I'd always, hey, how'd it go today?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Tell me about it. Do you drop down? Do you take lunch orders or what? It was like, oh man, it was beyond brutal. Yeah, but I'm glad. News writing, does that make students better writers? Because you got like okay, for a news story, it's when, where, how, why, and what.
Yep, the 5 W's and sometimes a how, depending on the topic.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that makes you a better writer in terms of like your vocabulary,
right? Well, for business writing,
your prose, if you will.
Yeah.
I would say that it makes you a much better organizer.
Right.
So I preach to them, at least at the basic news writing level, that if it feels and sounds robotic, you're doing it perfectly as it should be.
Yeah.
It should feel very weird and not colorful, just plain, here's what it is, the 5 W's and a how perhaps. And you have to structure that, right? So the lead, what bottom line up front. I should be able to read that first paragraph.
Yep.
And know more or less the gist of the article, the most important information, and then in descending order from there. Usually you roll with, again, depending on the topic, the next section could be about the impact of whatever it is. Right. It could be about the background, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then maybe talk about the impact of it.
Sure.
And then the future, like what's going to happen now. Whatever the order may be, but that's the gist of it. And you can take that same formula and apply it to academic writing. You can apply it to business writing, whatever the case may be. But of course, your style is going to be different, right? It's not going to be subject, verb, object, right?
Right.
Bob hit the ball.
Yeah.
It's going to be more colorful than that. But I would say it definitely helps them strategically write.
Yeah. I just think in terms of business communication, it's you got to get to the point as quickly as possible, and having a journalistic sense really does help. And so same thing. If you can get it to a paragraph, that's especially as you communicate at higher levels of management, they appreciate and recognize. Okay, you know what you're doing.
This was a study from, oh my gosh, can't remember. I think it was halfway through the last decade, plus or minus 2015.
Yeah. And
essentially a couple news outlets had done a study, and they determined that only 40% of Americans read past the headline of the story. Yeah. Of that 40%, I think it was something crazy like 80% quit reading after the first like 300 words. And these news stories were,
expansive,
lengthy. Yes. And so if you only got 300 words to really convey what needs to be conveyed, mind you, in my case, I'm looking at Supreme Court opinions that are hundreds of pages long. That's a very, very small amount of space. And when I tell students, like, hey, you got a 500-word essay, like, oh my gosh, 500 words.
Oh my God.
And then when they do it, they look at the paper and they're like, I wrote like a page and a half. That's, nothing. Now imagine 300 and it's a whole news story.
Right.
Talking about the bottom line up front, the impact, the background, the future. That's not much space.
Yeah.
So you have to be clear and concise. And I think that definitely helps.
Yeah. When I was coming up in marketing, Procter & Gamble was kind of the company that we would all emulate.
Mm-hmm.
And they had what was called the one-page memo. And basically you could, you could be asking for a capital expenditure in the millions, and it's still, you'll get it on one page. And if you need more than that, then go back and work. And it was the same thing. It was all brevity is power. That was a big thing. They just kept drilling into us. So yeah, any kind of frivolous, build up or, all that had to go and get to the point. What, as far as thinking about your you are the communication studies department.
I am the department.
You are.
1 minute. I am the department.
Yeah, I am. I am Spartacus. Yeah. So, what ideally, what kind of classes would you like to offer in the future, or direction that you would like to the department to go to?
I've been here 4 weeks almost.
Plenty of time.
A little over 4
Plenty
weeks.
of
I was
time.
here before the semester.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out exactly that big picture where I want the department to go. To be quite honest, the curriculum we have seems perfectly doable, workable. I'd like to make my own tweaks, here and there. But as to the specifics of that, I'm still figuring it out. Personally, just off the top of my head, my dream class to teach would be, I don't know how useful it would be for everybody here, but I'd come up with a syllabus about a year ago for a class on news media and the judiciary, which is basically everything I study. Right. Everything from theory, like we were talking about, where does the power of the court come from, things like that, all the way to practically speaking as a reporter, how do you cover an institution whose principal officers don't do interviews? Right. They only speak through these,
legal documents.
Yeah. So what do you do with that as a reporter? Because you have to do it. Yeah. So everything in between. It would just be really cool, I think.
Yeah, and good special topics class.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for it. Yeah,
because it's at the New York Times. It's Adam Liptak, I think, is the guy. He's, now I read it and I'm just assuming, but I'm pretty sure he's, a lawyer in training and understands, how to summarize the.
What's funny? Yeah. I'm writing this law review article at the moment, and one of the books I'm leaning on heavily. What's the full title? It's Television News of the Supreme Court. Yeah, all the news that's fit to air? ? And they interview. This was back from '98. Yeah. But they interview everybody from Carl Stern to Lyle Denniston, these big time network news broadcasters who specifically covered the court. That was their whole thing. And some of them had law degrees, others didn't. And you'd be shut. The ones who had the law degree said, in no way does that make you qualified to do the job. They said, I forget which one of them didn't have a law degree, but basically the one with the law degree said that guy knows more than most lawyers know about not only the court, but about law. And just from covering the beat and knowing how to read opinions and the nuances of those legal concepts. Where it came to play, where it came in handy was that the justices themselves, they would be more willing to talk with reporters off the record, of course, but just in casual settings, They run into you downtown, DC, wherever. He said that the justices were way more likely to treat you as a normal human being because they saw you as in the field with them. Not one of them in the government officer sense, but one of them in terms of training and general industry. even though they were a reporter. So they said that's where it came in handy. But outside of that, they said really it didn't.
Yeah. Well,
so maybe Adam does have a law degree.
Yeah, or he's just he excelled as being a great journalist.
Yeah, it could
be. That because you have to. It always has to get down to writing.
When you're assigned a beat like that, in that case, court reporting,
right?
And you do it for decades, you become an expert on it, regardless of whether you have a degree in the matter or not.
Exactly.
You could be a reporter on fine art.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up knowing a lot about fine art. Doesn't mean you got a degree in it.
Yeah.
But I would say that on the whole, I would think personally that a law degree would help just because of the technicality of the field. You have to know all about these nuanced little things and how they connect to one another.
Yeah.
For example, if the one I go to, because I had to read Dobbs in and out for my dissertation more times than I care to. She concepts like, does the Constitution, in fact, the guy talking tomorrow is talking about it.
Yeah.
Does the Constitution protect unenumerated rights?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes and no. And there's a million reasons as to how you qualify whether or not a right is that's not listed in the Constitution is protected.
Right.
And it depends on what amendment you're relying on for it. In the case of Dobbs, it was largely the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
It was the substantive due process clause.
Right.
It says you can't deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. And
Mm-hmm.
the question became, well, what Roe and Casey were hinged on the word liberty, right? What does that mean? And that came down to basically the rights that are enumerated and those that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that aren't to be protected, it has to be either A, deeply rooted in national history and tradition, or B, an inherent part of our scheme of ordered liberty.
Yeah.
And then you break it down a million different ways from those two things.
Right.
After that rabbit hole we already just went down.
Yeah.
And that's just one little question.
Sure.
So you can imagine it's a highly technical field.
Yeah.
I respect those guys a lot for reporting on that. It would be, I'm sick of reading it. Whenever I'm doing a research article or something, those guys got to do it for a living, day in and day out. It's tough work.
Yeah. Does it change that lately that you hear about decisions being made on a shadow docket where there's no, it's like, here's the decision, but you don't really, I think, get a document to kind of explain exactly how they arrived at the decision, or a vote in terms of how the decision was arrived.
They're procedural in nature.
Yeah.
So they're not ruling on the merits of the case. They're basically looking at, they're almost always, restraining orders against one party or the other. And so, but of course in the press, it's framed as, President Trump won or so-and-so defeated. Yeah. And that's not at all what they're saying. They're simply saying either this can go forward for now while it's being decided in the lower courts, as it should be, or no, this has to be put on hold while it gets decided in the lower courts. And that's it. They're not saying, and moreover, it's they're not the justices aren't in control of what's submitted to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? If those people quit asking for stays and restraining orders, well, then there'd be no such thing as a shadow docket.
Right.
But in recent years, the president, whoever it may be, has more than in the past, they have been strategically using the judiciary. They'll take actions that they know are going to be challenged in court, and then basically roll the dice, see what happens. So they're putting that on the Supreme Court. It's not that the Supreme Court's going out there and asking for these controversial decisions, or shadow docket. But
the current Supreme Court kind of brought this on themselves by the ruling where that at a circuit or federal level, you can't put a blanket national
district.
District. Mm-hmm. And so now it's all of a sudden now you can do class action, but that takes organizing and time. Right. So now it all rolls up to the Supreme Court.
It'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
That was kind of good. Again, it requires, we don't have the time for it, certainly. The reporters can't either. But there were arguments on both sides of that, and it was kind of a double-edged sword, regardless of how you look at it. From either perspective, there's pros and cons.
Right.
In this case, if you're for it, all right, cool. These district judges, they're not kings as we've been talking about.
Right.
They can't just decree nationally
Yeah.
this shall or shall not be. However, to your point, okay, well, since they can't do that, this is going to keep rolling uphill.
Seems
It's going to be
the only way.
Yeah, there's if I'm not mistaken, there's hundreds of district courts.
Right.
And so you're going to get tons and tons of these. I mean, it's going to inundate the court.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Well, that'll be for another talk show.
It will be. I'm interested to see that. Maybe we'll know more.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place. Brown, thank you. And welcome
Absolutely.
to Lyon.
I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
I love it so far.
Yeah. Wonderful. And thank you to all our listeners, watchers for, this has been a great conversation. It's one of the favorite things I do here at Lyon is
I believe it.
Just getting here and getting to, know all the faculty and staff that have rolled through. So I appreciate you taking the time. And again, thank you to our listeners and watchers. Jason knows what's coming up. I'm going to let the suspense build for just one moment more. And we just appreciate that you've taken the time to listen to us. We always appreciate a like or share of the podcast. And I know the proverbial question that always comes up is, where can you find the Career Pathways podcast? Now, I tried to answer this, our last podcast. People, I failed miserably.
Yeah.
Jason.
That's putting it lightly. Yep.
He's showing me some tough love here. Yes, he called me out across our worldwide audience at my flub. So I'm never going to try that again. And instead, I'm going to smartly kick it over to producer Jason to answer that question. Where can you find the Career Pathways podcast?
You can find the Career Pathways podcast on 99.97% of platforms, the same number of germs that get killed with Germ-X.
There you go.
Nice.
That's how you answer
Smooth as
it.
butter.
Now, would I ever be able to do that? Absolutely not. But thank you again for listening and watching, and we hope you join us for our next podcast. Take care.
This broadcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and by KILT Studios.